people believe that engines have a natural lifespan. They think that after 100 or 200,000 kilometers, they are doomed to fail, and that no matter what you do, sooner or later the time will come to replace them. This is a belief instilled by the industry, which needs cars to die so that you buy another one. The truth is very different. An engine can be eternal if you take care of it with the right habits. I am a witness myself. My car, a common model with no special tricks, has already passed 1,155,000 kilometers and continues to start every morning as if it were new. How did I achieve this? Not with luck, nor with miraculous parts. I achieved it with 13 simple habits, applied with discipline year after year. These are habits that anyone can put into practice, and that mark the difference between an engine that dies young and another that lasts longer than many marriages. Today, I am going to tell you what those habits are. Some will seem obvious to you, others may surprise you, and they might even contradict what you have heard at dealerships. But if you apply them, your car can exceed any expectation. Habit number 13. Respecting the warm-up time. Many drivers turn the key, start the car, and accelerate as if nothing happened. This is one of the biggest engine killers. When an engine is cold, the oil is thick and accumulated in the oil pan. It needs a few seconds to rise, lubricate, and cover all the internal surfaces. If you start and accelerate forcefully immediately, what you are doing is causing the metal parts to rub against each other without protection, like bones without cartilage. That is why I always respect the 2-minute rule. I start the car, let the engine run smoothly, and wait for the temperature to begin to rise before driving it hard. In very cold climates, I even let it warm up a bit more. This habit, which seems like a waste of time, is actually a life insurance policy for the engine. It is what differentiates a car that wears out at 100,000 kilometers from one that comfortably surpasses 700,000 kilometers. Habit number 12. Respecting the revolutions. The tachometer is not there for decoration. It marks the revolutions per minute, the rhythm at which the engine's heart beats. Always driving with the engine at very low revolutions, suffocating it, is as damaging as always keeping it at the limit. Both practices create tensions, carbon buildup, and premature wear. The key is to listen to the engine and keep it in its comfort zone. Not in the red zone, but not on the verge of stalling either. Balance extends the useful life and ensures that each part works as it should. Respecting the revolutions is respecting the music of the engine, a stable melody, neither too slow nor too fast. Habit number 11. Not overloading the engine. The engine was designed to operate within certain limits, but there are those who believe it can withstand anything, dragging huge loads, climbing slopes in 5th gear, or accelerating to the maximum with the car filled to the roof. Overloading the engine does not just mean carrying too much weight, it also means driving in a way that forces the engine to work outside of its natural zone. Every time you insist on climbing a hill in a high gear, you are forcing the pistons, rings, and connecting rods to a tension they should not endure. The result is invisible premature wear, micro cracks, parts that overheat, and abnormal oil consumption. You will not see it in a week, but you will pay for it in a few years when the engine starts to sound tired. I learned this after a trip with 5 passengers and a full trunk. I wanted to maintain speed on a long slope without downshifting. After a few kilometers, the engine was burning hot and I had to stop. Since then, I understood that downshifting in time is not a sign of weakness, but of mechanical intelligence. Habit number 10. Driving smoothly. It may sound obvious, but this is the habit that encompasses all the others. Driving smoothly is treating the car for what it is, a complex, precise machine that responds to care or mistreatment. Abrupt acceleration, sudden braking, violent steering, all of that creates a cascade effect of wear. The brakes get tired, the suspension suffers, the tires wear out, and the engine is affected. In contrast, smooth driving keeps everything under control. The engine breathes better, the gearbox lasts longer, and fuel consumption decreases. Even the bodywork remains firm, without those creaks that appear over the years in mistreated cars. When they ask me what the secret is for a car to exceed 1,000,000 kilometers, I always answer the same thing. It is not magic, it is smoothness. Because a well-cared-for car returns the care in the form of longevity. Habit number 9. Using quality fuel. Fuel is the blood of the engine, and as in the human body, not all blood is the same. There are gas stations that seem cheaper, but cheap can be expensive. Adulterated fuel contains impurities, water, and even solvents that slowly destroy the injectors and the combustion chamber. I discovered this with a friend who always filled up at the cheapest station. His car started to fail, lose power, and consume more than normal. In the end, the injectors were covered with a sticky residue like burnt rubber. The difference between good fuel and bad fuel is not always immediately apparent, but after 100,000 kilometers, the engine that drank clean fuel is still strong, while the other can barely breathe. That is why I only refuel at trusted stations, even if they cost a few cents more, because I prefer to pay a little extra today than thousands in repairs tomorrow. Habit number 8. Avoiding driving with the tank on reserve. Many believe that driving with the reserve light on is harmless, like a simple warning, but the truth is that it is a silently destructive habit. Impurities, sediments, and even rust accumulate at the bottom of the tank. When the fuel level drops too low, the pump sucks up precisely that dirty part, sending it directly to the engine. This not only contaminates the injectors, but also forces the pump to work harder, straining it to the point that it can burn out prematurely. I learned this the hard way, when years ago a car of mine was stranded because the pump stopped working. The mechanic explained to me, "Never always drive on reserve. It is the suicide of the fuel pump." Since then, I never let the tank go below a quarter full. Habit number 7. The 5,000 kilometer rule. Oil is the blood of the engine. Without it, everything is destroyed. Modern dealerships repeat that it is enough to change it every 15,000 kilometers, but that is a big mistake. The first oil change should be done at 1,000 kilometers. At that point, the engine is still releasing metal shavings from the initial break-in, and if you do not remove them, they will remain circulating and wearing down every surface. Afterwards, the real rule is simple. Change the oil every 3,000 to 5,000 kilometers or every 6 months, whichever comes first. Ignoring this habit turns the oil into black tar, loaded with dirt and carbon. I have seen engines with barely 70,000 kilometers that looked like they had 200,000 because their owners trusted the promise of extended intervals. In contrast, frequent maintenance keeps the engine clean, cool, and protected. It is the most basic habit and also the one that has saved the most engine lives. Habit number 6. Using the correct oil. Not all oils are the same. Using just any oil because it was what they had at the gas station is slowly murdering the engine. When you read a number like 5W30, it is not a meaningless code. The 5W indicates how it flows when cold, and the 30 its viscosity when hot. If your manual calls for 5W30 and you use 20WW50, you have just created an invisible problem. The oil pump works under strain, the flow is altered, and the wear increases. The danger is that this damage does not appear in a day. It accumulates silently until one day the engine starts to consume more fuel, sound rougher, and heat up more than normal. Synthetic oil, although more expensive, protects better in extreme temperatures, maintains internal cleanliness, and ensures smooth starts even in the cold. It is the choice of those who think long-term and want to see their car pass 500,000 kilometers without opening the engine. Habit number 5. Changing filters religiously. Filters are the silent guardians of the engine. The air filter, fuel filter, and oil filter all work together to prevent dirt from destroying it from the inside. A dirty air filter forces the engine to breathe with difficulty, as if you were trying to run with a dust mask on your face. This causes a loss of power, an increase in consumption, and an accumulation of residue in the combustion chamber. A neglected fuel filter allows small particles to enter the injectors. These particles act like invisible sandpaper, scratching the surfaces and altering the fuel spray pattern, resulting in less efficiency, more emissions, and more expense. A saturated oil filter is like a sick kidney. It no longer cleans anything, lets impurities pass through, and turns the oil into a toxic broth that circulates throughout the engine. That is why, every time I change the oil, I also change the filter, and I check the air and fuel filters regularly. These small guardians, which many see as secondary parts, are actually the soldiers that protect the engine day after day. Habit number 4. Checking the cooling system. The engine generates controlled fire inside it. Every fuel explosion is extreme heat, and without an efficient cooling system, that heat would destroy it in minutes. The radiator, the thermostat, the water pump, and the coolant work together to keep the temperature in balance. If one fails, the whole system collapses. The common mistake is to think that water is enough. Filling the radiator with tap water is like giving the engine a contaminated drink. That water contains minerals that form scale, corroding the internal walls and clogging ducts. The proper coolant, on the other hand, contains additives that prevent corrosion, lubricate the pump, and maintain a stable temperature even in extreme conditions. Ignoring this habit leads to overheating, one of the engine's worst enemies. I saw it once on the road. The dashboard light turned red, the driver continued, and in a few minutes, the engine was on fire. It was never the same again. Habit number 3. Respecting the timing belt. The timing belt is one of the most treacherous elements of the engine. It works silently, hidden, synchronizing the movement of pistons and valves. While it does its job, nobody thinks about it. But the day it fails, the disaster is absolute. When a belt breaks, the valves collide with the pistons at full speed. In a matter of seconds, an entire engine is turned into scrap metal. The worst part is that this damage is not repaired with a simple spare part. It often means the engine is completely ruined. That is why respecting the recommended interval is a golden rule. If the manufacturer says to change it every 80,000 kilometers, it does not mean you can wait until 90. It means that at 70, you should already be prepared. I knew a neighbor who postponed this change to save money. One day, on the highway, the belt gave up. The result was a tow, an unpayable repair, and the sale of his car as scrap, all for not respecting such a simple habit. Habit number 2. Not ignoring leaks. An engine that drips is an engine that is pleading for attention. A small oil stain on the ground seems harmless, but it is a ticking time bomb. That minimal leak can reach the timing belt, cause a tooth to slip, and provoke a collision between valves and pistons, resulting in a totally destroyed engine. I learned this lesson the hard way myself. I saw a stain in the garage and ignored it, thinking it was a small thing. A month later, the oil had reached the clutch, ruining parts and multiplying the cost of the repair, all for not attending to a leak of a few dollars. Every drop your engine loses is useful life that is gone, and every day you drive with a leak is like running with an open wound. You might hold on for a while, but the end will always be worse and more expensive. Habit number 1. Not trusting only the dashboard. Many believe that the dashboard lights will tell them everything, that it is enough to wait for the oil or engine warning light to turn on to react. That is a fatal mistake. When a light turns on, the damage is already in progress. It is like waiting for a fever to rise to 40 to finally go to the doctor. That is why I manually check the oil level every 2 weeks. I open the hood, pull out the dipstick, and make sure the level is correct and the color is not strange. I also listen to the engine carefully. An unusual noise can be the first sign of something serious. Modern cars are smart, yes, but no sensor replaces the human ear or direct observation. Blindly trusting the dashboard lights is turning your back on prevention. These 13 habits are not secret formulas, nor miraculous tricks. They are simple practices, repeated over and over, that turn a common car into a life partner capable of covering distances that many consider impossible. It is not just about mechanics, it is about mentality. It is about understanding that every start, every refueling, every checkup is an investment in the vehicle's future. And if this video helped you understand that your car can go much further than you imagine, do not forget to leave your like, subscribe, and share this content, because perhaps, thanks to you, another driver will discover that their car does not have an expiration date, but an almost infinite horizon.